At Shemya, mostly cloudy skies with snow showers, and winds will be out of the north at 20, gusting to 30 knots. Temperatures will range from a high of 32 to a low of 28.
The seats were twisted and turned. There was food everywhere. There were patients everywhere in the aisles, everywhere else. It was completely destroyed on the inside and very difficult to move around, which really made getting the patients out a little bit more difficult. We got called at about 2 a.m. this morning with the information that there was some kind of an in-flight emergency. The initial information that we got was that there were 30 injured or ill patients and only one seriously ill patient, and that it was a Chinese airliner. And we got down to the med-aid station and set things up, planning on 30 injured patients at the most, and then went down to the flight line and waited there until the aircraft landed.
Since we're a remote island, a remote installation, we don't have the full facilities here. We actually have a clinic with one flight surgeon. She's got 2 independent medical technicians that she uses to start our initial response. Fortunately for us, ADAC responded very quickly with 3 doctors and some EMTs, and then subsequently on a C-130 brought in about 9 nurses to help out.
Well, surprisingly enough, when we got here, it was fairly calm. The doctor on board actually had done a tremendous job. We had the place back here all filled with patients, but they were all on mattresses covered with blankets. Everyone seems to be comfortable at that point. There's also rooms back there in the back that were filled with different types of casualties. Also a couple of rooms back here. But, you know, there was no pandemonium. It looks like for the hour that it took us to fly to get here, we were really, they've done a lot of things to, you know, stabilize the patients.
We started some basic treatment, including IVs and dressing wounds and splinting and immobilizing, C-spine immobilization for people we suspect might have had neck or back injuries.
The folks at the branch hospital did a really outstanding job. By the time we got here, which was around 9:30, 10 o'clock or so this morning, everybody had been triaged, all the critical patients had been assessed, and most of them were already en route to Elmendorf.
Once we were notified that there were injured on board, we put into action some medical emergency services plans that we have here with the local community. And the Air Force and the Navy, all the military here in Alaska, to include the Coast Guard, along with the state, work together to get all these folks back here in downtown to hospitals for their needed or for their necessary medical care.
Our hospital command center was notified early this morning and contacted the local civilian emergency control center, and between the two of them they assessed the amount of resources available. Basically, we knew we had a large number of casualties coming in, and both systems responded with all available resources here at the flight line.
I can't imagine that I'd ever forget it. I can't imagine that I'll ever have to face it again. As a physician, you think about maybe having casualties, a number of casualties, but you're usually thinking along the lines of 10, 20 at the most, not seeing 140 injured people. We're tired.
Personnel from ADAC and 2 flight crews, including a P-3 based out of Moffett Field, and the Spirit of ADAC were called in to support. A Shemya aircraft hangar was converted into a mobile hospital to treat the injured. The most critically injured were flown off first, with the others leaving according to their medical status. Since Shemya wasn't set up to handle such an emergency, the support was overwhelmingly welcomed.
Fortunately for us, ADAC responded very quickly with 3 doctors and some EMTs, and then subsequently on a C-130 brought in about 9 nurses to help out. We also had the support of the Coast Guard C-130. They have to be on station and evac some people out. We took our own EMTs from the crash and fire department and put them on the airplane to help the people on the way back to Elmendorf.
it was excellent help. Obviously, we had much more than we could handle out here. We didn't have the supplies we needed. We didn't have the personnel that we needed. We first had a lot of support from our own people here. Our fire department supported us very well, extricating the patients. And then the people from ADAC brought several physicians and a lot of equipment for us, technicians. And when they got here, things really started falling together a little bit more.
Splints, stretchers, IV units, and many more medical supplies were brought from ADAC to assist the injured. ADAC's medical crews were immediately put to work, helping the ailing Chinese passengers.
This is what we trained to do. It was about 4 o'clock in the morning when we all got the call. I was pretty gratified that the hospital had gotten our supplies together as quickly as we had through the efforts of Commander Zuckerman, Captain Carney. Everyone was on the scene, moving things out to the aircraft, even as the physicians were arriving in the hospital. So that part of it ran very smoothly. It got complicated when we got on the scene.
Once the injured were stabilized, they were loaded on Air Force, Navy, and Coast Guard airplanes and transported to Anchorage. Emergency response crews in Anchorage, representing 4 hospitals, the local fire department, and police force, were ready and waiting to take the injured to the hospital. Anchorage has conducted drills to handle this type of situation in the past, but the actual emergency brought out the best in everyone.
It turned out nothing short of a miracle. We managed to take care of roughly 150 patients, all of whom, to the best of our knowledge at this time, have survived, many critically injured, and it went without any flaws.
Everything went smooth. I've never seen a better operation run on a flight line with a medical evacuation.
The arrival of the C-141 from Shemya to Anchorage marks the final chapter in what was a very long and trying day for the people aboard the Chinese Eastern Airlines commercial jet that was diverted to Shemya last night. With the help of all branches of the military, the mission was carried out successfully. Reporting from Elmendorf Air Force Base in Anchorage, Alaska, I'm Petty Officer